How did one of the most ubiquitous words of the English language come to be so controversial?
They, them is such an absurd concept. How can you be a plural?
It is really sinister.
Mainstream publications completely mangle the English language deliberately. It's madness. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have thought this was possible.
Welcome to Rainbow History class.
My name's Hannah, my pronouns are she, her.
And my name is Rudy Jean Rigg, and my pronouns make conservatives very angry. So we've seen a rise in trans and non-binary people using they, them pronouns to refer to themselves over the last decade or so. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely heard people tell me that it's grammatically incorrect. But what if I told you that it wasn't grammatically incorrect and those pronouns aren't even that new? The fact is, they've been causing drama for a very, very long time.
That's right. Now, the first piece of drama surrounding our gender-neutral singular pronoun they is the fact that it was stolen from Vikings. That's right. Back when we spoke Old English, we didn't have a gender-neutral pronoun, and people really wanted one. So they looked to their enemy's language, Old Norse, and took it from there. Now, the word they was probably spoken long before it was ever written down, right? But it made its debut on the page in a very queer-sounding medieval romance called William and the Werewolf, which dates back to 1375, or 647 years ago.
Yeah, people were using they, them pronouns to refer to those that they didn't know the gender of, people, where circumstances where gender wasn't relevant or needed to be concealed. But the people using these pronouns weren't grammatical heathens, because you know who was using it, Hannah?
You're going to tell us, Rudy.
William Shakespeare, the guy who wrote Romeo and Juliet, and he's pretty important to the English language.
Do we have time for me to recite a little Shakespeare, Rudy?
Only if you do it properly.
Do I do things any other way? Stand back. This one's from Hamlet. "'Tis meet that some more audience than a mother, since nature makes them partial, should hear the speech of vantage." Thank you.
I just got shivers down my spine and I got thrown back to high school theatre class. I don't know how I feel, but anyway, thank you for that, Hannah.
Basically, you're welcome. So, even though Shakespeare is kind of like the English language's model student, it's not like he cared that much about speaking perfect English, because if he needed a word to describe an idea or an image or a feeling, well, he kind of just made one up.
Yeah, like moonbeam, savagery, obsequious, lonely and obscene, which actually kind of sound like a queer haiku. I didn't think about that.
That's true. I'm going to put that in my diary. The fact that he gave so many new words to the English language is one of the reasons why we consider him such a literary genius. His work shows us how we can change language to better express ourselves and articulate the future that we want to create for ourselves.
Future. Actually, that just rings a bell in my mind. He would have known what words that we would need in the future.
I actually can't believe we're doing this at TED.
I have got a presentation for you all, so please excuse me.
No, this
now
is your
it's
moment.
turn to move in the back. Hi, my name's Rudy, and welcome to my TED Talk. What if I told you that William Shakespeare was alive and well and with us today? Take a look at this. Example A, William Shakespeare. And example B, a man named Adam Shulman. Now, there's a very compelling case that Adam Shulman is actually the reincarnation of William Shakespeare. Now, William Shakespeare, the original one, he was married to a woman named Anne Hathaway. And who's Adam Shulman married to? The star, yes, the star of Devil Wears Prada herself, Anne Hathaway 2.0. Now, the evidence goes further. Yes, it's very compelling. Coincidence?
Unlikely.
I think not. So, This has come to us via two of the most reliable sources of truth that we have at our fingertips: Twitter and a free morphing app from the App Store. I rest my case. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And we're done. So using the word they to describe individual people back in Shakespeare's day was A-OK. But in the 1600s, after Shakespeare died, or at least began his transformation into Adam Schulman, the pronoun they found itself at the root of drama once more.
Because at the time, English was like kind of a second-rate language. Like, how do you say it? Like a language for losers?
It was a language for losers.
Yeah, and I don't know. They didn't even think that it was worthy of having grammar. So that's where they were.
That's exactly right. But in the 1600s, England was getting more and more powerful. So people started to think, well, maybe English was big enough to, get its own grammar. So the linguists that were put in charge of writing down the English language grammar got to work modelling it on Latin grammar, which they found really hard, two different languages, and it made them feel really kind of bad and insecure that, English would never be as good as Latin.
No, and so they had a well-spoken tantrum about it and continued to demand that English be more like Latin. The thing is, with Latin, there is no gender-neutral pronoun because every single word in Latin has a gender.
Now, if you've never had the opportunity to learn a Latin language, then the idea of every word having a gender might seem kind of confusing. So don't worry, we have prepared a reenactment of how we assume every word was given its gender.
So Hannah and I want to welcome you today and thank you for coming to our gender reveal party. We are so proud to be parents of this chair, and we can't wait to share this special moment with you.
I can't believe the day's finally come.
Oh, I've been waiting. You do it, I can't bear it.
I can't even look. Oh my God.
What do we think it's gonna be?
What do we think it's gonna be?
It's a girl!
It's a girl!
Quick, send it to ballet and don't let it play with Lego. Now that, like all gender reveal parties, are pretty ridiculous, but I do wish that they did it like that.
I know, I can't wait till we all come back here again and do it for the table. So English scholars looked to the very prestigious Latin as goals. And so they were insecure as they were, they continued to demand we make English more like Latin, which means dumping the gender-neutral singular pronoun they in favour of just he and she.
Yeah, but we still needed a generic, gender-neutral pronoun for both men and women because they were making things like laws, which needed something that would apply to everyone. And so they go, oh, no, we can do it. We've got a solution to this issue. And now these scholars, being all men, what do, Hannah?
I have no idea what they decided the pronoun should be.
Well, they just went ahead and was like, no, we've got one. He and him. Yeah, we'll put them down. So they decided that he and him or he-in-laws would be the generic pronoun used for everyone. So they got to work changing the laws.
And here is where we enter pronoun drama number 3. You see, these male scholars walked right into a trap, a grammatical trap, set by a bunch of scheming feminists known as the suffragettes. So in the late 1800s in the US as well as the UK, these women were campaigning for their right to vote, and they got smart. They figured, well, if the pronoun he was generic and applied to everyone, then surely the laws surrounding his right to vote should apply to them too.
Got him.
That's right. And so, I don't know though, it didn't go down quite as planned, but one of the reasons that I love this story so much is because it's another example in history of how we have used language and grammar to lobby for the rights of marginalized people, which is very similar to what we're doing at the moment, which is using pronouns to advance the inclusion of transgender and non-binary people.
Yeah, but the thing is with the suffragettes, these lawmakers and linguists, they were like, again, they had a solution to the
Always.
problem. And so they went, no. He and him can be used to include women, except when women needed to be excluded, which is pretty confusing.
Would have been less confusing to just allow women to vote, but
Yeah.
no, this is what they came up with. And if we go right up until the 1970s, the pronoun he was still used as the generic pronoun. But you can imagine that in the 1970s, we're in the middle of second wave feminism. These feminists were really not having a bar of the pronoun he being the generic pronoun. But the scholars at all of the leading universities still didn't want to lose their prestigious Latin language vibes and return to they.
No, and so we ended up using or trying out a bunch of different pronouns like thon, ze, here, and some of which actually were adopted by the trans and non-binary community. But the thing is, nothing went as mainstream as they them pronouns did. Now, unfortunately, the media can tend to think that trans and non-binary people are, going ahead and mangling the integrity of the English language, but the fact is, apart from a small group of Latin superfans, we've always wanted a gender-neutral pronoun.
That's right. The video we played at the start of this lesson accused trans people and their allies of mangling the English language. But language is self-mangling. If it didn't get mangled, we'd all still be speaking Shakespearean English, and you could all sound as good as I did at the beginning. That's the thing about language. It adapts and it changes and it evolves to stay alive. Latin, on the other hand, died. Or at least dissolved into French.
So there you have it.
I'm Hannah McElhinney.
I'm Rudy Jean Rigg, and that was a very long-winded way of telling you all that my pronouns are they, them. Thank you for coming to class.